Hey everyone, Eric here with Chicago Bears Daily. Today I was reading up a little bit on Bears news and I came across an article going over how Velus Jones Jr. is already emerging as the second best receiver on the Bears. And that is something that does not surprise me at all. I've been saying since we drafted him that he looks like a stud, first of all, out of the draft class. If you even watch like a minute or 2 minutes of his highlights, he is elusive, he is electrifyingly fast, and he's a kick returner, he's a receiver, he can take it out of the backfield. So it makes perfect sense to see why he's already emerging as our second best receiver. And not to take away from anyone else on our squad here, but his ceiling is much higher than guys to the likes of Byron Pringle and the other guys that we've kind of been picking up over the offseason. And Mooney obviously is going to be our wide receiver one going into the season. He proved it very well last year. He had multiple games where Allen Robinson, he was out of the game, and Darnell Mooney received the first coverage, so he was getting covered as a wide receiver one. So he proved it last year and he had that connection with Fields, and I'm just excited to see Velus Jones Jr. become a little bit more of a threat, because he's going to come into the season as a rookie, and he's 25 years old. So you can't really expect his learning curve to be a little bit shorter, since even though he's a little bit older, you can't expect him to come in and play like the league's best 25-year-olds already. However, he comes in with more years and more experience of playing football at not the NFL level, but he comes in, he's had that extra time to grow both physically and mentally and maturity-wise. So we're expecting him to come. I was expecting him to come in and take over the second best duties very quickly, and to see reports that he is kind of fulfilling those expectations. It's kind of encouraging and kind of exciting to see, because if we were hard pressed on only Darnell Mooney as our wide receiver one, and everyone else was kind of in that stumbling middle ground receiver territory, that would have really taken away from the offense and what we're trying to do. And so I think it's going to be an exciting time, at least knowing that we will have two solid receivers here. And I think Byron Pringle will also be very good as well. He showed flashes in Kansas City. He's a fast guy. He seems like one of those kind of Swiss Army knife kind of guys. So, and I think we have those top three receivers there. Essentially, Mooney will be the one, but I think they'll be interchangeable in a sense where you can draw up a play for any three of those guys, and you'll get the ball downfield, you'll make completions, and once the ball's in their hands, they'll make plays. I mean, Darnell Mooney, we've seen him be elusive, we've seen him be fast, we've seen his route running, he can get open. Velus Jones Jr. will have to wait and see what he can do in the NFL. I'm very excited, but to see reports of him emerging as the second best receiver already, as this early in the summer, it's an exciting thing to see. And Byron Pringle, if you go back and look at his highlights, he obviously has one of the league's best quarterbacks throwing to him in one of the best offensive systems, but nothing can take away from on the field when he gets the ball, what he does after it. And what Byron Pringle tends to do, he is a speed boost guy. He will go and make people miss, and he will outrun them. So we're really getting a dynamic trio of wide receivers here. I think this is going to be our, whether or not you want to call Pringle or Velus Jones Jr., the two or the three, I think they'll be very interchangeable. I think each player is going to have plays that will be designed for them, and I'm excited to see kind of like how Velus Jones progresses even to this point, because when we drafted him, I thought, based on the eye test, he looks like one of those guys that could emerge to be a steal, and he has a very high ceiling. He's a little bit on the older side, but again, that brings the maturity, that brings the extra kind of physicality. So he's fast, he's big, he's quick, he's elusive, and he has good hands too. He can catch the football. So those are the big things that you look for in a wide receiver, especially getting him late in the second round. Like that's if we would have taken him in the first round, I think people would have been like, okay, that's a good pick. But to get him in the second round and he turns out to be someone that is dependable and he can be a good number 2 to Mooney and he develops a great connection with Fields, then people are going to start looking like, ooh, okay, like people are going to start looking like he is a steal in the draft. So if he turns out to be one of those guys that is looked at like a steal, that's a huge win for both his confidence and our confidence, Pole's confidence in drafting, and our confidence in having a number 2 receiver, a solid number 2 receiver behind Mooney, and that can work with Fields. If you're excited about Velus Jones Jr., go ahead, drop a comment, and leave a like and subscribe if you like this video, and we will see you in the next one.